What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Haunted Beards 100 subscriber Q&A. Greatly appreciate everybody writing in, commenting, leaving questions, video recommendations, and movie recommendations. Very grateful. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Always love chatting back with you and just hearing from you guys. So, without further ado, I'm going to just keep this thing really raw. Let's just jump right into the questions. So, first off, Nania, congratulations from Germany. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Great to have you. Let's see. Nania asks, do you like Italian giallo films? And if so, do you have a favorite? Great question. Italian giallo is something that I have dipped my toe into, but haven't really gotten very, very deep into. It's something that I really need to get deeper into and explore the genre a little bit more. I've seen some Dario Argento stuff. I know that Mario Bava and Lucio Fulci are some of the other big Italian giallo directors. I haven't seen any of their movies. As far as Argento goes, I've seen like Opera and Tenebrae. I've also seen, and this isn't an Argento movie, but I've seen A Bay of Blood. And there are things about those movies that I like. I like some of the visual presentation and the kills and stuff like that are pretty great. There's also other aspects of them that I didn't really jive with. I know they're older, but some of them just do feel a little dated. Some of the acting comes across as a bit cheesy. And so I think the jury's kind of still out on that one. I just need to explore it a little bit more. So hit me up with some recommendations. I'd appreciate it. Let's see. Nania also asks, are there any horror TV shows you would recommend? Oh, yeah. I actually prepared a bit of a list for you. Sometimes it's hard for me to just come up with stuff off the cuff. So I actually wrote a list. So get out a pen and paper because I got a handful of them here. So horror TV shows I would recommend. First off, I would recommend Black Mirror if you haven't seen that. That is probably typically known first as like a sci-fi, but there's definitely horror and thriller elements in there. That's a good one. As far as I know, that's on Netflix. Those are all, if you're not familiar with it, it's a pretty popular show, but just in case, those are all each individual episodes of completely different stories. Those are all quite good. I haven't seen every single one, but I've seen a lot of them, and it's pretty good stuff. There's another show called Supernatural that I really enjoy. This is one, it ran for like 15 seasons or something crazy like that. But it's just about two brothers that just go hunting supernatural creatures and monsters and demons and ghosts and all that good stuff. And this one's on cable TV, so it's not like super over the top just in terms of like the blood and the gore and violence and all that stuff, but it's still pretty solid. Really just the relationship with the brothers and their characters are really good. And so that's kind of what really sort of pulls you into it. Just your connection with their characters are really good. And so that's a fun one. There's a show called Slasher, which they have done 4 seasons of. And the last I checked, the first 3 seasons are on Netflix, and the 4th season is on Shudder. That's a Canadian produced show. Obviously, it's a slasher type show. Each season is its own separate storyline, so that one's pretty good. I had a fun time with that one, especially if you like slasher stuff. The next ones are, these ones are pretty well known. The Mike Flanagan stuff, Haunting of Hill House and Black Mass. I would definitely recommend those. Those are both really solid. Haunting of Bly Manor I liked, but wasn't as high on as the other two. Squid Game from last year, that was all the rage all over the place. Everybody loved that. I was one of them. I thought it was pretty solid. Enjoyed Squid Game. If you haven't seen it, check it out. There's a show that came out on Netflix earlier this year called Archive 81 that I really liked. And it's a bummer because I believe they've already canceled it, so we're not going to get a second season. However, the first season I think is still worth watching. That one just had a lot of interesting things going on. This video archivist is tasked with going through these old videotapes, and yeah, there's just some interesting things going on in that one. I enjoyed it. If you want to go classic, you can't go wrong with The Twilight Zone from the 1960s, Rod Serling. That is one of my all-time favorites. Some of them, yeah, are a bit dated and cheesy, but there's a lot of them that I think still hold up really well and it's pretty great. That show, I love it. It's really good. So let's see. Oh, this one right here. Boom. Hannibal. If you have not seen this, this is fantastic. This is really the I mean, it's the Hannibal Lecter story. They made it into 3 seasons, so it's not like a super big commitment. This one too is crazy because it was on, um, at least here in the States, like sort of our cable TV, which is you. It's usually pretty heavily edited in terms of what you can get away with. But this show, man, I can't believe what they were able to get away with on cable television. Um, but anyways, yeah, this is great. I never thought I would see anybody who could like rival Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, but dude, Mads Mikkelsen is phenomenal in this. This is maybe like it's probably one of my top 10 TV shows of all time. I love this thing. Hannibal's great. And then finally, if you really want to venture into some bizarre, weird, crazy stuff, I would recommend Twin Peaks. David Lynch. That show is wild and bizarre to say the least, but I really like it. I would recommend it if you really want to check out something different. So there's a few recommendations for you. Hopefully, you found something on that list that piqued your interest. So let's see what else we got. Also, too, thank you guys for just the movie recommendations as well. I'm writing them down and appreciate it. Rugen and Ivan, thanks, guys. Appreciate the kind words. You guys both asked the same question. Why did I start my channel? So I started my channel. Let's see. I've been a movie fan for a long time now. And when I was about 13 is kind of really when I sort of got into like realizing like there's people who actually made movies, like how movies were actually made, and kind of started looking at them more in depth than just sort of watching them for entertainment. And also at that time, I started really getting into like media and video editing and web design and graphic design, and that those are like my two passions. That sort of media stuff and movies are what I love, and I still do all that media stuff today. So I had this really kind of this dream, and this is going back to like 10, 12 years ago. I wanted to like start a movie review website where I would write reviews. And for one reason or another, that didn't, take hold, and it just didn't happen. And then obviously in the last 10, 12 years, YouTube has just exploded. And I've always been subscribed to movie review channels on YouTube, and just seeing people talk about movies, and there was just kind of always this idea in the back of my mind that like, man, I could do that. Man, I could do that. And just seeing the platform that YouTube had become, I was like, man, maybe that's something I could do. And so it's kind of cool because it's just sort of combined my two big passions. I love movies and talking about movies, and I love making videos and editing videos. And so, and for again, whatever reason, there was always an excuse not to do it, and didn't have enough time, and was always too busy, and for whatever reason, there was just always that excuse that I just wasn't able to do it. And finally, about 4 months ago now, I think April 5th was when I dropped my first video. Just probably like maybe a week or so before that, I think it was just kind of like one day, all of a sudden, I just decided. I was like, I'm doing it. No more excuses, no more reasons why I can't. It's been something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And so it was just, I finally just kind of pulled the trigger in my mind and was like, I'm doing this. We're going to do it. So yeah. And here we are 4 months into it. And I think I'm like 55, 56 videos, something like that. But I'm having fun. I love doing it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's why I started it, because it combines my two passions, and it's something I've just wanted to do for a long time. So I finally just said, let's do it. So good questions. Ivan, you also asked, is there a horror genre that I dislike? And I wouldn't say there's one specifically that I just outright dislike. I think I can find at least one movie, if not probably a handful of movies in any sort of horror subgenre that I like, and so I wouldn't just completely like discredit one. The one though that I would say I like the least is probably like the horror comedy. That's usually the one that I'm least interested in, or find myself sort of gravitating towards the least. And but there's still good horror comedies, and I'm kind of more specifically talking about like movies that are comedy first with some horror elements into it, because movies like Scream, and I said this in my review, I still consider that a horror first, a slasher with some comedy into it. And so kind of talking about movies like if you've heard of like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I actually like that movie. I think it's pretty good. But just kind of movies like that are ones that I would typically have sort of the least amount of interest in. So that would be that. Let's see here. Where do we go? Where do we got? What do we got here? Oh, and final question: does it bother you that your wife hates horror films? And that was actually written in by my wife. I I told her, I was like, babes, you gotta write in a question. I'm gonna do a 100 subscriber Q&A, so write in a question, and that's what she comes up with. So love you, babes, appreciate it. No, it doesn't bother me. I tried to I tried to convert her. I tried to make a fan out of her when we first started dating. I probably should have eased her into horror films a little better. When we were dating, I think I showed her like The Descent and Seven, which is is maybe a little intense. But no, I couldn't quite convert her. It didn't really take, and so I have accepted that she is not a horror movie fan. But you know what? It's okay. I love her and I accept her for who she is, so it's all good. But anyways, those are the questions. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. That's all I got for you. I will talk to you soon. We'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.